In this video, I'm going to be telling you about a Canadian who robbed a bank in Singapore. His name is David Roach, a Canadian citizen who is an engineering grad. During his mid-20s, he was backpacking around a bunch of different countries. He seemed like a pretty normal traveler. However, for some weird reason, he planned to rob a bank in Singapore. He visited the bank he planned to rob frequently, to get familiar with the environment. And on July 7, 2016, he went into the bank and handed the bank teller a note that read, "This is a robbery. I have a weapon. Give me money. Don't call the police." David had a black sling bag on him, making it look like he had a gun or some other weapon on him. The bank teller quickly gave him around $20,000 in cash. David took that and ran off immediately. He got into a taxi to Changi Airport in Singapore and got a ticket to Thailand. He was out of the country. I'm sure he must have felt some relief after getting on that plane and landing in Thailand. However, his relief would be over real fast. The bank teller gave descriptions of David to the Singapore authorities, and the Singapore authorities found out that he flew to Thailand. And just a heads up to anyone who wants to travel to Singapore, it has some of the lowest crime rates in the world, and one of the reasons is due to their extremely high-tech security systems. So if you do a crime there, you're most likely going to get caught. After finding out he flew to Thailand, Singapore authorities worked with Thai authorities to try to find him. And just 2 days after the robbery on July 9, 2016, Thai authorities found him as well as the $20,000 in cash on him. Singapore authorities wanted him back in their country. However, there's no extradition treaty between Thailand and Singapore. So if you don't know what an extradition treaty is, it's basically a treaty between two countries that allow people to be sent back to a country if they committed a crime there before. Canada also wanted him too, since there is an extradition treaty between Canada and Thailand. However, he did break some laws in Thailand, including money laundering and failing to declare the amount of money on him upon his arrival to the country. So he was sentenced to a bit more than a year in prison in Thailand. Oh yeah, and the 20 grand that he had on him was seized by Thai authorities and never given back to that bank in Singapore. This may have been the reason why Singapore still wanted him back in their country even after his sentence in Thailand was over. So after his sentence in Thailand was finished, he was sent on a flight to London, UK, then to Canada. I guess David probably thought that he was going to be home at last. However, when he got to London, he was arrested there, as the United Kingdom and Singapore do have an extradition treaty together. However, before being sent back to Singapore, UK authorities were a bit hesitant, as Singapore has some pretty insane laws. The law that they were most scared of was caning, which is an actual punishment in the Singapore law system where they whip you with a cane. In 1994, an American citizen was sentenced to caning in Singapore after committing vandalism. That incident shocked the American government, including President Bill Clinton, calling it cruel and unjust. So David Roach tried his best not to go back to Singapore, but was unsuccessful, and was sent back to Singapore on March 16, 2020. He could have faced a maximum of 20 years in prison and been fined around $350,000. On July 7, 2021, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison and 6 strokes of a cane. So basically that one crime that he committed back in 2016 will hold him up in custody for a decade.